Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Erudition session. This is a red tea. It's a famous red tea, and it's from Anhui. Anhui, famous and red, automatically makes you start to think of Qimen. We're on week number 4 of a 6-week, and this second half of the sessions, Erudition, Qimen, unabridged, Fujin, and Ovation, Yuna. So take real good notes, real different experience over all 3 sessions, and we'll go from here. All right, so where would I like to think about? Where would I like to be in my thought process in terms of how to talk about Qimen? Let's see a minute. Hey, let's start out with Britain. Britain in 1660 was drinking a bit of tea. So that was good. That was very good. What type of tea were they drinking? By and large, green tea, because there wasn't a lot of red tea available in the market. And the British just hadn't been really introduced to it. There was some smoky tea, but not a lot. So what happens in 1662 that changes everything? Catherine of Braganza comes to Britain and marries Charles II, and all of a sudden she's queen. As part of her dowry, what does she bring? Tea. And she brings good tea. And so historically, this particular queen has been dissed a lot of times. Cold, weepy, sickly. These aren't good descriptors. And yet, historically, that's been written about her. Right? She was accused in the 1670s of, trying to undermine her husband. This was a church thing. Gosh, these church things become very complicated, and a political thing too. But she survived all that, and her husband loved her throughout, or at least supported her, let me put it that way, throughout his reign. So let's go back to this dowry of tea that she brought with her. How did this influence the whole world? Let's start in Britain. In Britain, she publicly drank tea. This is good. Everybody sees, oh, wow, we got a leader drinking tea. So this thought that tea might be good started to filter down. This was one of those trends that started at the top and then edged its way down. Obviously, she was drinking good tea, the best that the Portuguese could provide, Portuguese and Dutch, because they were the ones who were really bringing back tea. British had started to bring back tea, but remember, it was by and large green tea. And she really ended up liking red tea. What else did she do? She promoted tea within society as something that was good to drink. So that was useful. And then in that time period, so let's back up a minute. Was Qimen needle invented yet? No, it's still in the back of everybody's minds. Oh, it's not even in the back of their mind. It's a dream somewhere. It's not a reality. So let's match everything up and talk about when that became a reality, because this is going to be important in thinking about British and then using the French as a comparison to British. Wow, that should be interesting. So Qimen came into being sometime in the 1680s. 1685, we know for sure. Qimen is already starting to go full-fledged. British are loving it. It's supplanting green tea in Britain. See, when I tell you that green tea was very popular in Britain, or not you, because you already know, because I've mentioned this before, but if I say to the general public, oh yeah, green tea was really popular in Britain, they roll their eyes and say, no, 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 you're all wrong. It's always been red tea. No, 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 I'm all right. It was green tea. And then because of the royal interest, it moved over to red tea. What else occurred during this period that was very important? Twining. Yes, indeed. So one of the founders of Twinings opened a tea shop in London. Now, of course, that doesn't sound very revolutionary until you look deeply into how British society was segmented. You thought I was going to talk about China today. British society was segmented such that, and by the way, for those of you who are thinking, I am going to bring up a comparison. Britain had plenty of coffee houses at that time. What was the nature of those coffee houses? Ooh, no women. 0 women. Women not allowed in the coffee houses. So what did Twinings Tea House do that so influenced British society? And this was also coming down from royalty. Okay? We have tea, afternoon tea, tea with little goodies. Oh, and then, by the way, we have women in the tea houses too. Women and men. My gosh, revolutionary. So tea played a very important role in the development of British social mores, British thinking, women's independence. And by independence, let's put that, this wasn't a women's movement per se, but what I want to say is they got more freedom to interact within society and do things within society. We all know, by the way, that women were really still leading at that time because they were taking care of the children. And remembering that tea made this tremendous difference in the 1600s in Britain because all of a sudden, waterborne diseases among children just about disappeared. How about tea for breakfast instead of alcohol or dirty water? This is the revolutionary impact that tea had. In addition to setting it up so that women could be out in society and interact with whoever they wanted to interact. Tea parties, oh, those were fun, apparently. And so let's race ahead. Let's race ahead to the 1900s. In fact, to the end of the 1800s. Let me ask you a question. Where in the world was the most sugar consumed? Turns out Britain. All right. If we take France and we take Britain and compare the per capita consumption of sugar, and remembering the French bake real good things, sugar in them, so forth. British were consuming 10 times per capita the amount of sugar that the French were. I don't remember British baking to be that good. They were consuming it in the tea. And they had all these tools that influenced the ceramics. It influenced the sugar spoon industry, bunch of industries related to sugar because that was the thing, sugar and tea. And so this huge consumption of sugar. So why is it that red tea specifically, and Qimen, Assam, Darjeeling, they're all getting sugar? Why? They're getting sugar because, remembering, unlike Catherine, Queen Catherine, the tea quality that was being drunk among those who went to tea houses, those who drank tea at home, wasn't very good. I'll tell you what, the rest of the continent, I'm talking about continental Europe, contributed to this. How come? So they import tea. Britain would import tea from all over, Netherlands, because the Dutch were out there getting it, Portugal. And how was it coming across into Britain? Well, turns out you had LCSers a long time ago. So they were adulterating the tea leaves, putting grass in. It makes it so much cheaper as you import stuff. Well, let's fill this up with 20% grass. Not that type of grass. I mean, twigs and grass. And, let's just sell it as, a real good product. Well, it's a real good product compared to nothing. But it wasn't what the royalty was drinking, because they were getting the real stuff. But think about it outside of royalty. If you're getting this stuff with grasses and twigs and all sorts of stuff, is it going to have the distinct flavor that you're going to taste today? The answer is it is not. It's going to be grassy, it's going to be twiggy, and you're going to be thinking to yourself as a consumer. And this is, really, when you think about why does sugar ever make it to a beverage, well, somehow, usually, the beverage needs something, or the beverage is too light, or it's too bitter, or it just doesn't taste very good. Put some sugar in, very drinkable, and it becomes a sugar drink instead of an inherent tea drink, or an inherent drink of tea is what I should say. So this was the trend that led to sugar going into red tea in Britain. And this is the trend of milk going into red tea. And this is the trend of unimaginably large amounts of sugar going in. Because what kind of product? What was your initial product? Again, it wasn't what you drink today. That was being produced, but it was going, excuse me, to the top of the heap in terms of consumers, because very expensive. Although what I will tell you is during the late 1700s, early 1800s, the price for regular people started to come down. Why? There was production, especially in the 1800s, coming out of India. So that's one thing. And secondly, the internal tax in Britain on tea for consumers started to decline. And as it declined, man on the street, yeah, I can drink better tea. But did that change their habits? No. And so once you get in a habit and you in your mind equate tea to sweetness and extreme sweetness, and or milk or cream, or by the way, if you look at the history of tea in Britain in the 1700s, 1800s, up to the beginning of the 1900s, they were doing other things too. Boiling up some fruit, putting essence of fruit in, actually putting fruit in tea, bunch of things that they were doing to tea. Why did that seem acceptable? Because the quality of the tea, again, just wasn't what you're going to drink today. So this gives you a starting point. And when you have British friends and they tell you, oh no, I can't have tea without milk and sugar. Well, ancestrally, this is how that happened. All right. I guess I better go to China. Enough of this stuff in Europe. Europe's fun for a bit, but China is endlessly fun. And the Qimen area is this beautiful, beautiful area in southern Anhui province. And the actual county, and for those of you who are going this year, incredible treat. From the Yellow Mountains south, that's really the Anhui area. That's really the Qimen area. It's an Anhui. And geographically, and the terroir from a soil standpoint, just incredible for growing and producing tea. It was so incredible that even back, as far back ago as the Sung Dynasty, 1100s, 1000s, tribute tea is being sent from this area. Of course, it's green, processed as a green, it wasn't processed as a red. So when you jump ahead to 1950, and China publishes this list of 10 famous teas, huge number of green teas on that list, you know, Premier's Choice, Wang's Creation, Dragon Well, the tea, Green Sanctity, bunch of great green teas. So this is 1950s, by the way. So we're not back in the 1800s. There was a great cliff tea on that list, Scarlet Roll. That was great. Actually, there was another Fujian oolong on that list, which was Iron Goddess Light. So you had both of those on that list. And let's see, I'm wondering now, were there any red teas on that list? Oh, there was one. Qimen Needle. How come red tea is so disproportionately not represented, in quotes, in the greatest teas in China? It's a historical thing, isn't it? Because you get thousands of years of green tea, and then what you really get is 200 or 300 years of red tea. And so the palate is attuned to, oh, this is really fine. And by the way, how many years of oolong teas you get? That's why you get 2 on that list instead of just only 1. You get 500 years of oolong teas. So that's how come the list got to be the way it is. But if you talk to anybody in the tea industry, they tell you, wow, we've got a queen in there. And that's Qimen. And by the way, they call it Qihun. Qihun really is a family of red teas from Qimen County. And, you know, many people lazy, just Qimen. But properly, it's known as Qihuns, Qi Reds. And we've got a few of them. And they all have complexity, differences. They're all typified by being beautiful teas, just beautiful teas. Chinese tea elite agree that red tea has gotten short shrift in China, but they say at least Qimen has been internationally recognized, or the Qi Reds have been internationally recognized. And in fact, in 1915 in San Francisco at the Pan American Fair, Qihun won a top prize in terms of it was given a prize in the top 30 world foods or something like that, awarded because it's, oh, this is really good. And it is really good. So, are there a lot of steps to making these red teas? I can describe 4 or 5 steps that all of them go through. Let me do that. So you have to pick. Yeah. You got to decide what you're going to pick. Is it going to be a bud only? If it's Qimen, it's bud only. Is it going to be a bud and a couple leaves? Okay, maybe we're going to wander off into the vortex area. For those of you who remember vortex here. Is it, so you make that decision up front. You bring it in, you wither. You got to wither no matter what, because you're going to handle the leaves. They got to be pliable. You got to have less moisture in. And I always talk about the less moisture. There's one thing I don't talk about. What else happens when you wither? You concentrate the flavors. And this is really important in the qihungs. And that's why you get this mouthful of incredible different flavors when you do the Qimen reds or the Qi reds. I'll get it right. Don't worry. After you pick, after you wither, then you roll, because you got to break up the leaves. You got to get those juices flowing. Then you oxidize, and then you bake. God, this sounds simple. It sounds like we could do this in California. And we could do a really good job. And if we got a famous chef, we could probably make this seem really incredible. Now, for the gift grade Qi Hung, how many more steps are there? There are approximately 11 more steps. And the steps are reshaping, sifting out little bits of it, trimming it. It's incredible. And again, for the group that goes with us, you're going to see some of those incredible tools that they have. It's unimaginable that they go through that much trouble, because that means they're handling every single leaf. And when you think of the leaves, look at how small they are. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, Peter asked, so Qimen is in Anhui, not Fujian.
Oh, yes. Peter asked, are you sure about your geography and Qihungs? Is it in Fujian or is it in Anhui? Because you mentioned both those provinces in passing. It is definitely in Anhui, and it's named after the county, which is Qimen County. Beautiful area. Beautiful area. All right. So as a red at the gift level, remembering the gift level is what you give other dignitaries. Gift level, special. We always have special here at a minimum. Occasionally we sneak in gift stuff, but special at a minimum. And then you have level 2, level 3, and then 7 other levels. You never taste any of the 7 levels. Impossible. You do taste gift. You do taste special. It's mostly special. Really doesn't get down to level 2 here. So in the whole red tea sphere, in the entire world, Qihung, Darjeeling, and Assams are recognized as the 3 top in terms of flavor producing teas, red teas in the world. And on top of all of those sits Qihung. That's what we're going to have today. Let's see how I'm doing. Oh, I'm doing okay so far. I think what I'm going to do is have the tea master come right now, because if I start down another line, it'll be 10 more minutes, and then you'll be regretting that my story is so long. So I am so pleased today, because when the tea master handles Qi Hun, it's like a work of art. It is just beautiful. And make no mistake, Erudition is a Qi Hun. So the tea master has an appreciation for these that I've seen with few other people. So in thinking about what we're going to do today, what you need in your tableau is 2 cups and a strainer. That's all you need. Oh, what you don't have, and only I have, is the beautiful, numinous, moonstone clad Tea Master B2.
Good morning. Yeah, 早上好. Yeah, we do red tea with Qimen, huh?
Yeah.
Qimen 红茶. Oh, we call Qimen 红茶. Okay, Qimen 红, Qimen red. Yeah, this is the green.
So this is the setup. And you may be having a little confusion because I've wandered with the title of Qi Hun, I've said Qimen needle, and I've said Erudition. So let me get it completely precise. Erudition belongs to the Qi Hun class. Now you're where you're supposed to be. Tea Master is drawing water. I am putting the time on the clock. 2 minutes that I'm putting on. And you notice as usual. Sorry.
Yes, three, huh?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, 3 minutes.
You know what? I put the wrong time on the clock. That's why I just double checked it. It's 3 minutes. But in the email I sent, I'm sure I said 3 minutes.
So.
Okay, Tea Master has everything in good order. You notice that she has rinsed the glasses out. And we're making multiple cups here. That's why we have extra cups. So don't worry, if you only have 2 out, that's the correct number. No covers, you notice. Oh, playing with the water phase. Oh, wait a minute. That's not how I'm supposed to characterize this. Dissipating the steam, aerating the water. Airplane. The most important thing to notice is rhythm. And the Tea Master is unrattled and unrattleable. She just keeps that easy tempo, easy rhythm. It's beautiful. This is what you should strive for as you're doing yours. Tea Master gets out her tea leaves, puts them in the heated cup, shakes the cup. Oh, smells it to make sure it smells like the right tea. And then puts the cooling water in the kettle so she can control it. Always looks like so much. All right. I set the timer. And while this is steeping, we're going to take advantage of this time and talk to you about what the immediate future is going to look like. Shop will close April 13th and reopen on May 27th. So this is an important thing for you to think about because every one of you wants to avoid two words put together. And these two words are very bad when put together. Tea emergency. So stock up on whatever you think you need because you will not be able to order over the website. You won't be able to come here and get it. My sister has assured me that there is no bribe large enough for her to open the door and get you tea. So,
But it'd be fun to hear you make an offer. I mean, I haven't heard a really good offer yet,
hey,
but
there
still,
you go.
It's unimaginable to me.
Yeah, there you go. It sounds like there's a crack in the door. Good luck to you all, by the way. This will be amusing if you go that route. So that's one of the things you have to really pay attention to. We're taking many of you to the fields this year, and we're going to the Qimen area. So that's part of the trip. The other part of our trip is the normal part of our trip, which is we go to farms, we speak to people in the tea industry, we speak to scientists, we do all the normal things that we do. Ooh, and there's one very normal thing that we do that I don't talk about very often, but it's very important. We bring gifts for all the kiddies and the families and for the adults. So this is really a fun time for us to interact with the farmers. But believe me, it's all about business. Well, gosh, this makes it seem cold. We love these people. However, this is also in addition to the love part of the business of doing tea. And we're really good at what we do. And this is part of why we're so good, because we understand the whole atmosphere, how to do this. All right, so this is a 3-minute steep and it's very nearly finished. So in a minute, Tea Master is going to demonstrate some more tea rhythm. I love watching tea rhythm. Timer went off, separating the tea leaves from the tea water. Oh, what a treat. Look at this color. Erudition. What a beautiful sight. Wow. And I can strongly smell this thing from here. In fact, even as Tea Master separated the water from the tea leaves, very distinct. We're going to enter the tea arena. We're looking for astringency where it occurs on the tongue, aftertaste, and then lastly, feeling. Oh, yes, and that feeling we'll talk about in a minute because I forgot to mention something about that. But this first, no, you watch me enter the quality arena. There's a rhythm to this as well. By the way, make sure you have notes because taking notes is part of the rhythm. And if I were in China, by the way, entering the quality arena, and usually when I do, there's various people there. We both take copious notes because this helps us get the best flavor. I'm going to enter again because I see where the astringency is on my tongue. I get an aftertaste. Oh, I already get a feeling too. Energetics. All right, I'm going to enter again. I'm going to confirm everything I just felt. I'm going to think about aroma. I'm going to think about flavor. Wow. Okay, it's your turn to brew. So it's in bag number 1. Your package. Set your timer for 3 minutes. It's already measured out in terms of grammage, 4 grams. Remember, we're operating at 175 degree. Actually, cool it down so it really reaches 170. But anywhere from 175 to 170. That's a good place to be. Closer you are to 170, what we find is the better the flavor is. But I mean, at a certain point, you can only process this so far. So tea master, dissipating the steam, aerating the water, and having fun cleaning. You are having fun. This is how good her rhythm is. Very rarely. There will be a penalty for that. I have this very strong feeling there will be a penalty for that.
Today, we're not Linux. This device. I'm a Linux.
Yes, you are. You notice Tea Master put the water back in the kettle because she can control the pour and where it lands. And this is very important. 3 minutes is set. You heat up the recipient cup. All right, just a second ago, I mentioned that I wanted to talk about the energetics of red tea in general, because in thinking about red tea, one of the things that, as I was looking at the research for this week's tea, I realized that in terms of energetics, when you look at people writing about their red tea experience in the 1600s or the 1700s, you always get something about it feeling good for digestion. It's interesting. This isn't scientists. This is lay people talking about, oh, I love red tea, and I love it because the benefit from a digestive and remember, at that time, perhaps hygiene wasn't the way it is now. So when you were eating stuff, the possibility of having stomach upsets was much greater at that time. And this was noted over and over again about, oh, there. So science these years has said, before we jump to science, let's talk about TCM, traditional Chinese medicine. Traditional Chinese medicine has said, hey, you get these red teas, they are really good for calming your digestive system. Typically, when people ask us, oh, I've got something that's bothering my digestive system, I'll ask, is it stress or is it your eating? If it's stress, the red teas in particular seem to be very good at kind of bringing a calmness to that. So when you think of red teas, you should think comfort food. It belongs kind of in a comfort food category, especially at this level, because you're not dealing, in a way, and I know I'm going to regret saying this, but the thought has come to my head. It's almost like a dessert tea. because of just the nature of it. It's probably better if you don't say it that way, but just to get the sense of why it's a comfort food, because it just makes you feel a certain way when you drink it. And again, lots and lots of evidence and sciences are working out exactly why. All right, timer has gone off. Tea master and you separating the tea leaves from the tea water. And you have just this beautiful, beautiful tea. This color is so pretty. You know, this is the other reason, by the way, when you think about this color. So many people who drink things like blends, tea bags, those sort of things, that level of tea. What does the color of their tea look like? Does it look like this? No, it looks black. In quotes, black tea, in other words, red tea, should look red. It should not look black. If it looks black, something is wrong. Yes.
Jonathan observes, the tea water is clean, yet the flavor is full in my mouth. Another super easy drinker. I need to pace myself.
This is a great comment. Thank you, Jonathan. It is clean, easy drink, and it's the type, once you start, if you're not really present, you will drink this up in a flash. Yes.
Rob says, the tea smells like honey, cider, and cinnamon, and then the taste is similar, but drying in the aftertaste.
Love this comment. Smell of honey, cider, and cinnamon. Taste is similar, dry in the aftertaste. What a great description of this. The Chinese would be all over this description, particularly the honey and the cider portion of it. They might not exactly say cinnamon, but you're right on. I get that. Yeah.
Peter says, on the first sip, if this were a song, it would have had a strong mid-range that needs a vacuum tube amp. Very helpful. Thank you, Peter. And that's the density and thickness. But a few sips later, the treble is a more pronounced astringency.
Oh, I love this description. So all of you who are musicians will get this, because Peter starts out with a depth, because you have read that part.
There's a density
yes.
and a thickness that he associates with, like almost like a strong mid-range voice or sound.
Okay, perfect. So that's not a bass, but a strong mid-range voice, and a density and a power. There, that's what I was missing. A power that comes out, and musically, it's very distinctive. And then when
the treble is the astringent.
Nice.
I like
that is just beautiful. The treble, the astringency is the treble. And that's so true with this tea. And when you think about the astringency, it sneaks up on you as well, because Jonathan's comment about drinkability means that you shut off temporarily the astringency. In other words, it goes back to Rob's comment also that a honey, cider, cinnamon. So you mentally are thinking, I gotta drink this. Your body's telling you, I gotta drink this fast. I like this. Give me more. And yet, as soon as you catch that treble note, as soon as you catch that astringency, point, slow down. Slow down and appreciate the journey. Great comment, Peter. I love the musical aspect to this one. Okay. The other thing is think a minute about the energetics of this, because the energetics, and it'll take you a minute to capture this. The energetics are really strong with this one. At least they are for me. And also one more thing, and I want to reemphasize, because there was the thought of density. You don't normally associate tea with a density, and yet these teas you do associate with density, because there's so many flavors that are going through these.
Peter says, on energetics, I quickly found a nice warm glow, low in the belly, that flowed down to the inside of my ankles. Very comforting.
Very nice glow in the belly that flows all the way down to the ankles. Very comforting. Peter notes these things, and I concur. I have that type of feeling, just a warmth throughout my body. And it's so interesting, because your description of flowing to the ankles, mine stopped at my knees. Apparently my circulation doesn't work as well as yours does between knee and ankle, but I get it flowing down the leg. Absolutely. Yes.
Rob observes, this is warming, but also making my brain make interesting connections. For example, after the first sip, I could not help but be reminded of Lee Strasberg's performance in The Godfather, as John was talking about the business of tea.
Oh my goodness. Yes, tea like this can get you to all sorts of interesting points in terms of mental images. And Rob's description, harkening back to The Godfather, as comparing it to the business of tea. This is very interesting, and actually, in some ways it's apt, but you really, normally people don't put me in the midst of that type of comparison, but it was apt. It was definitely apt. So yes, strong feeling, strong feeling. Okay. Erudition, keep these notes, because we've got 2 more great red teas in this series. Unabridged and Ovation. And you're going to have distinct differences, all 3. Yes.
Jennifer adds a comment, scent of honey and cinnamon, candles. It translates through to the candies, not candles, sorry, candies. It reminds me of state fairs and autumn and getting up early and accomplishing a lot.
Oh, I love this comparison, especially that you brought up a season, autumn, and scent of honey and cinnamon, because typically when I think of autumn, I think of pumpkin pies, and I think of Thanksgiving. I think of all the things that are so great about autumn. Yeah, this tea belongs in that class in terms of eliciting those type of thoughts. Great catch on that, Jennifer. Candies, state fairs. Yeah, fun times. And this tea is a fun tea. Really is. Anything else? Okay. A couple other things I want to go over with everybody. And I'm going to go over them for the next 2 or 3 or 4 sessions. Again, as a reminder, I gave you the dates already. For those who are on a program for these tastings, I will do a pre-recording for all the ones we'll miss while we're not here. And every week in the appropriate week, it will be posted on YouTube on that Saturday, the day of. In addition, before we leave, I'll send the instructions to all of you for the brewing times, and I'll also send a few pictures for each of the teas. And lastly, you'll note in the schedule for these tastings that there's a gap of 3 weeks. That's on purpose. If I had been any good and known earlier exactly how many weeks we were going, there would have been a larger gap. But because I didn't, because the dates shifted, this is why the gap occurred this way. Nonetheless, forewarned means that you won't be surprised. So that's just want to make that clear. All right. I think we've had enough fun for today. This is just a fabulous tea. And as I stated, the next 2 weeks, more fabulous teas. Your responsibilities this week. And before I get to your responsibilities, thanks for the great commentary today. The commentary today was really, really thoughtful. It was really, really interesting. Got all these comparisons, the visual with the Godfather comparison, the music comparison, which to me was very evident right away, even though I had a hard time initially putting the words correct. Great assessment of this tea. Right on the flavor profiles. The Chinese would exactly talk about honey, fruity, floral, hint of something else going there. These teas are powerful, and these teas give you just so much. All right. For the upcoming week, your responsibilities are to stay healthy. I can't wait till next week. You know, today we had Erudition. Next week, I'm out of control, unabridged. You get everything.
No linen next week.
No linen next week.
Bye.